You scope out habits, routines, blind spots.
This video should not be titled Why It Sucks to Be a Serial Killer. This should be called How to Be a Serial Killer.
I don't think this love for me. I don't think you the one for me.
Welcome back to the channel. I hope that everybody's having a great day. Now that that's out the way. Listen, we're watching this video today. Why it sucks to be a serial killer, brother. I have to believe that it would suck to be a serial killer. You can't even be honest with the people around you. Your best friend, if you have a best friend. Most of them don't. But let's see what he has to say about this.
This is you. You've just killed someone. Again. This is what, the 5th time this week? Not for money, not for revenge. You do it because something in you decided that other people don't get to live unless you say so.
I don't think that that's how their mindsets are, though. I think that they just have a very dark needing for something to give them some thrill and dopamine. And I think that killing is exactly that.
The room is dark. The carpet's stained with so many people's blood that you lost count. You have human heads in the fridge and hands in the freezer, and in the distance you can see police lights coming for you. You're a serial killer. And on paper, that sounds kinda cool, like you're the apex predator. But let me tell you one thing. Being a serial killer is anything but cool.
I don't think a single person on this earth needs to hear that it's not cool to be a serial killer. You're the most unlikable You know what? Let me take that statement back. People who are serial killers tend to get a lot of women or men. I don't think that there's any serial killer woman that have ever been caught, but the men who have been caught, Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, they get women. I think Ted Bundy got married in jail. What type of shit?
Not all serial killers are the same. They come in all different shapes and sizes. The only common thing they share is that they are all psychopaths. Ted Bundy was one of the most famous serial killers from the years 1974 to 1978. He has 30 plus confirmed kills, but it's rumored that that number could be as high as 100 plus.
And just to give you guys a little bit of a dump on Ted Bundy, because I went to school for criminal justice and I did multiple projects on Ted Bundy, there was a time he had just killed somebody in the woods. A couple came through, tripped over the body, but since it was so dark out, they didn't see. They turned around, walked away. A couple years later, those two people got married. They were together. They had kids. Ted Bundy gets arrested. They're watching the news. They realize, holy shit, we are the people who walked over his fresh kill. If that's me, I'm playing the lottery that day. I'm not gonna lie, because you could have been killed. You should have been killed just in case. In my mind, as a serial killer, that's what I would do. I don't know if they saw or not. Gotta kill them. They got lucky. Serial killers are likable. That's how they get victims. That is true. They're able to get you to a point where you trust them so much that you'll follow them, that you'll be with them, and then you end up getting killed.
His weapons of choice were a crowbar, and he used blunt trauma, or strangulation usually, to end his victims' lives. See, unlike you, Ted Bundy was a so-called good-looking guy, so his main victims were women, and he didn't have any problems getting them.
I just want to give y'all a little bit of clarification. This is who they were fiending over. This is the guy that they were fiending over. Like, don't get me wrong, he's not the ugliest person I've ever seen in my life, but if this is who y'all are fiending over, I have something to tell you. I'm not gonna lie. Think about it. Would hitmen be considered serial killers? Yes. Hitmen would be considered serial killers. They indeed would. Depends how often they kill to be classed as a serial killer. To be classified as a serial killer, an individual must have murdered at least 3 people with a cooling off period between each murder. Cooling off period differentiates serial killers from spree killers who commit multiple murders in a short period of time, or mass murders who kill multiple people in a single event. FBI is they about to pull up my information immediately. I'm fucked. Serial killers, they are classified with that little bit of a cooling off period because a spree killer is somebody who just consistently kills people. But a serial killer has, like, they kill and then they go into hiding for, you know, it could even be a week. A week is a cooling off period, and then they kill somebody again. The cooling period could be 2 or 3 years because they don't want to get caught, and then randomly they'll show up on the other side of the country and they'll be killing over there. So it's hard to connect the murders, and then people don't find out who the serial killer is. That's basically what happened with the Zodiac killer. The Zodiac killer did that shit 100%.
His main move was pretending to be injured. Maybe his arm was in a sling or something, then asking women for help. When they leaned in, boom, crowbar to the head. Then he dragged them into his car. Some victims were assaulted, others decapitated, and he even kept some heads as souvenirs. Charming, right? How the only thing scarier than a charming lady killer is a clown serial killer. Yeah, you heard that right. John Wayne Gacy was a serial
Terrible. This dude hid like 50 bodies under his floor, man.
killer from 1972 to 1978. He had a confirmed 33 kills,
33 bodies under his floor. My bad.
and his weapons of choice were rope, chloroform, and handcuffs. But it gets worse, because Gacy lured teenage boys to his house with job offers or magic tricks. Once they were in, he'd handcuff them as part of his act, then choke them using a rope and a stick, tightening it slowly until they stopped breathing. His basement, full of corpses, a literal crawl space of horrors. But I'm not sure what those kids were expecting. I mean, look at him. He's a scary-ass clown. And then we saved the best for last. Louis Garavito confessed to killing over 190 people, but police think this number could be as high as 300.
The best for last is this guy who I've never heard of this guy a day in my life. He didn't bring up the Nightcrawler. He didn't bring up Jeffrey Dahmer. Maybe they're too mainstream for him. Maybe he wants to be a little different. But I've never heard of this guy.
He lured victims with gifts or promises of work, then tortured and murdered them, often using knives and blunt force. Bodies were found with hands and feet bound, showing signs of suffering. Oh, and by the way, he was only sentenced to 22 years.
What?
So yeah, that is actually insane to me. Growing up, you probably didn't start out evil. In fact, you were just a weird kid with no friends. You probably wet the bed a little too often. Maybe you enjoyed pulling the legs off insects and killing your pet cat. Maybe your parents didn't hug you. Or worse, they did, and it still didn't help.
These are all signs of a serial killer in the making. Another sign of a serial killer in the making is a kid who is way too invested into like adult films, right? You know what I mean when I say adult films, regardless if it's just pictures or if it's just adult content in general, those are all signs of a serial killer in the making. Watch your kids and watch how they develop and just make sure that they are not on the wrong path. The biggest sign is killing animals. That's the immediate red flag that you need to put them in some type of therapy immediately. And a lot of people are just like, oh, he's just a kid. No, that's a serial killer in the making, ma'am. Go take care of that.
Time you hit school, you're already the weird kid. The one who stares a little too long. The one who flinches at hugs and laughs at the wrong things. Other kids start calling you names, shoving you into lockers, giving you the old classic toilet bowl swirly, and telling you to stop being a freak. And to be fair, they're not wrong. By middle school, you're eating lunch alone, reading true crime for fun, and trying to figure out if it's normal to wonder what the inside of someone looks like. I just wouldn't say that out loud.
To be fair, I didn't eat alone, right? True crime has always been one of my favorite things. You know, the first 48. I grew up and I was watching that with my mom. I don't know if you guys remember that show House. That was a medical show and I would see some body parts here and there. I was always interested in these things, but I wasn't the freak though. And I don't even like to call people freaks. It's more just mentally unstable. That's the best way to describe a serial killer in the making.
Keep pretending, nodding, smiling, blending in. Meanwhile, your classmate wouldn't say that out loud, so you keep pretending, nodding, smiling, blending in. Meanwhile, your classmates are planning dances and first kisses. You're studying pressure points and how deep a knife has to go to hit something important. By the time you hit your later teens, you're tired of beating up on insects and killing random rabbits or raccoons you find in your backyard, so you've got the urge for the real thing. Cool. Creepy. You've been thinking about it for a while, maybe years. And now you're not just fantasizing, you're planning. But unlike movies, you don't just grab a knife and go full slasher. Nah, first you study, like a twisted valedictorian of violence. You start reading a lot. True crime books, articles, forums, FBI profiles, podcasts, maybe even documentaries where you're taking notes like it's a TED Talk for psychopaths. Then you have to pick your weapon of choice.
How would this guy know all of this though? Like how would you know that you're going through all of this education just to go murder somebody? I feel like a lot of the serial killers in our like world history, they didn't study up on it. They just ended up killing somebody, and considering the time zones that serial killers were very not popular but prominent, they just didn't get caught. There wasn't enough security around. There wasn't enough ways to get evidence. And now that technology in criminal justice has advanced so far, they can pull evidence from a 60-year-old case and figure out who the actual killer was. Back then, there just wasn't a lot to go off of. It was, did you do it? No. Fuck. Can we find his hair? No. Fuck. How about fingerprints? No. All right, you're free to go.
But you're not just choosing a weapon. You're defining your signature. So let's not get this wrong. It's almost like shopping for serial killers. Knives are personal. Guns are risky. Poison is subtle. Strangling? Slow, but quiet. You try to balance control, silence, cleanup, and your level of emotional detachment. You might even practice on animals, dolls, mannequins, or, if you're particularly twisted, yourself. Oh, and you Google way too much about bleach. That's a red flag right there, so let's make sure you clear that search history, pal. I don't even want to know what's on there, you weirdo. Now, the next step you choose is a victim. This is where it gets dark. You don't pick just anyone, you focus. Lonely people, bullies, your high school crush that never gave you a chance because she was the popular kid and you were a weirdo with no friends. Oh, and people who won't be missed. At least not right away. You scope out habits, routines, blind spots.
This video should not be titled Why It Sucks to Be a Serial Killer. This shit should be called How to Be a Serial Killer. He is giving a breakdown point by point on how to be a serial killer. Am I the only one who's getting this impression right now?
Victims are chosen for a reason. Access, vulnerability, and how easy they are to erase. You follow people for days, weeks. You learn their routes. You watch their apartments. You memorize the sounds of their front door. You time how long they take in the shower and on the toilet. It's not impulse, it's practice. The actual kill might take 30 seconds. The prep takes months. You don't just think about how to kill, you think about how to get away with it.
I feel like he's going off of Dexter a lot more than anything. In real life practice, this isn't what happens. You feel me? Like even the Nightcrawler, I can't remember exactly what he did. I'm going to try my best to give you like an idea of what he did. So the guy would just break into homes and he would assault the person, you know, in a bad way. And then he would chop them up, I believe. I could be wrong, but that's what I think he used to do. So I think that he's going more based off of an actual smart serial killer who never gets caught.
How to dispose of the body, where to park, how far your DNA can travel, whether to wear gloves, condoms, boot covers, even fake mustaches. Spoiler, the last one never works. You know the difference between clean and sterile. You plan for blood spatter. You learn what luminol is. You're Googling how long bodies take to decompose, like it's a school project. Seriously, please remember to delete that search history. Finally, you are finally ready for your first real kill. The plan goes into motion. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But one thing is almost always true. After the first one, it gets harder to stop. Because for a serial killer, the kill isn't the end. It's just the start of a new obsession. The next one. You walk up behind your first kill in a dark alley and pull out your signature weapon, a plunger. Not sure I would have chosen that, but that is totally up to you. The only downside is it takes a lot of wax with a plunger to kill someone, so I'll let you get to work. Finally, after what seems like forever, your first kill is on the board. Let's see who your victim was. Oh, it's little Jimmy, who used to give you those toilet bowl swirlies as a kid. Good choice. Now that your first kill is out of the way, this only opens up a void that you try to fill that you never will. Seems like every day you have the urges to kill someone else. Every time you kill someone, you just want to do it again. As the years go by, the killings become more frequent. After years of experience, you're basically killing someone every week. I mean, you have to be upwards of 200 people killed now? Wow, that's actually kind of impressive. You never had the opportunity to marry someone or have kids. I mean, even if you took some time off from the stalking and killing, what kind of girl is marrying you? Even if you managed to get one to come home with you, could you imagine how bad your apartment smells with your trophy of body parts? Yeah, let's stick with the killing instead of that family you were thinking of. You've gone through what seems like a million plungers because they keep breaking and you're constantly paranoid of the police. The problem is, killing doesn't actually fix anything. It doesn't fill the void. It doesn't give you peace. It just feeds the compulsion. And with every new body, the risk gets bigger. You start making mistakes. You revisit the scene. You leave behind evidence. You start believing your own myth.
Yeah, this motherfucker is talking about Dexter now. This whole video is based off of Dexter. Nobody's gonna tell me otherwise. The fact that he's bringing up these specific points, you watched Dexter and immediately got a hard on for it, dog.
That you're too clever to be caught, too invisible to be tracked. You save trophies, like a foot or an eyeball. You write journals. You get sloppy. And all it takes is one survivor, one nosy cop, one DNA test you didn't plan for, and then you're arrested. They find the evidence, the trophies and the bodies. They find out exactly who you are. and the world is horrified. Some people send you letters, others send death threats. Some weirdos want to try to marry you, but all of them agree on one thing. You're not getting out of this. If you're sentenced to death, you spend the next 10 to 20 years rotting in a box for 23 hours of your day. No group meals, no yard football, just you, your thoughts, and a toilet with no seat. Just you looking forward to the electric chair, a syringe, or the firing squad. So, nice. If you're lucky enough to only be sentenced to life, you get to stare at a wall for the rest of your life.
I'm taking the firing squad if I was ever put in a situation like that. And you could tell me that I'm morbid for that. I would much rather take that than anything. Shout out Jinx for the video. This was amazing, but kind of freaky if I'm not being a liar, you know. Kind of crazy that you even went ahead and posted this, but it was a good watch. It was definitely thought-provoking, and I would definitely watch another one.
I don't think this love for me. I don't think you the one for me. I don't think you see me when you fucking up all in your dream. I don't think you got trust for me. Just ain't what I see.